Welcome to the Pardesh channel. Today we explain Prophet Samuel 2, chapter 13 in a clear and simple way, step by step. We're about to explore one of the most intense, deeply tragic, and strictly historical multi-year family dramas recorded in the text. It's a story of obsession, incredibly cunning advice, devastating violence, and honestly, the very heavy cost of a leader's silence.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, context and character setup. Next, the crime and aftermath, followed by Absalom's patient vengeance and the assassination and flight. Finally, we'll cover key themes and ideas and wrap it all up with practical lessons and a recap.
Section 1. Context and Character Setup, Defining the Royal Family.
To truly understand the events of this chapter, we really need to first define who is who within the complex household of King David. So, here are our primary figures. Amnon is David's firstborn son, his heir apparent. Tamar is David's incredibly beautiful daughter. Now, importantly, Absalom is Tamar's full brother. They share both David as a father and Maacah as a mother. Amnon, on the other hand, is their half-brother. Finally, we have Jonadab. Jonadab is the son of Shimeah, David's brother, making him David's nephew and Amnon's cousin. The text explicitly describes Jonadab as a very shrewd man, and you'll see why soon. The chapter opens by telling us that Amnon has fallen obsessively in love with his half-sister Tamar. In fact, the text says Amnon became frustrated to the very point of physical illness. Why? Well, because she was a virgin, sheltered, and inaccessible, and it just seemed totally impossible for him to get to her.
Section 2. The Crime and Aftermath. A Shrewd Scheme. This intense, internal frustration of Amnon's, it doesn't go unnoticed. His friend Jonadab steps in, and it's here that external advice literally sparks the central conflict of our text. Jonadab approaches Amnon and asks, "Why does the king's son look so haggard every single morning?" Amnon confesses his forbidden love for Tamar. In response, the shrewd Jonadab concocts a step-by-step plan. He tells Amnon, "Go to bed and pretend to be sick. When King David comes to visit you, ask him to send Tamar to your room to prepare food right in front of you so you can eat from her hand." Tragically, King David unwittingly facilitates this entire scheme. He hears Amnon's request and actually orders Tamar to go to Amnon's house and make some special bread. Tamar obediently goes, prepares the dough, and bakes it right in his sight. But when she brings it to him, Amnon refuses to eat. Instead, he orders every single servant out of the room. Suddenly, they are left completely alone.
Now, what's really interesting to focus on here is Tamar's desperate, incredibly logical plea. When Amnon grabs her and demands she come to bed with him, she doesn't just panic, she actively reasons with him. She says, "Don't, my brother, don't force me. Such a thing should not be done in Israel." She begs him not to do this wicked, foolish thing. She asks, "Where could I get rid of my disgrace?" And she even offers a very real solution, saying, "Please speak to the king. He will not keep me from being married to you." You see, she's doing everything in her power to de-escalate the situation and save them both from absolute ruin. But the text tells us coldly, he refused to listen to her, and since he was stronger than she, he overpowered her and assaulted her. Immediately following the crime, we see a jarring, deeply unsettling psychological shift in Amnon. Before the assault, he claimed to love her so much it literally made him physically ill. But right after, the text states that Amnon hated her with an exceeding great hatred. In fact, the hatred he felt for her was suddenly greater than the love he had previously felt. This selfish, unchecked obsession instantly turns to violent revulsion. He just coldly commands her, "Get up and get out." Tamar's nightmare continues. She tells Amnon that sending her away now, discarded and disgraced, is actually a wrong even greater than the assault itself. But again, he completely refuses to listen. He calls his personal servant, orders him to throw her out, and bolts the door shut behind her. The text provides these specific, heartbreaking details of her physical devastation. Tamar is wearing a richly ornamented robe, a specific garment worn only by the virgin daughters of the king. She tears this royal robe, a devastating symbol of her destroyed innocence and status. She puts ashes on her head, places her hands on her head, and walks away, wailing loudly in profound public mourning.
Section 3. Absalom's Patient Vengeance. Silence in the Palace.
So shifting our focus to the surviving family members, how exactly did King David and Absalom react to this crime? Well, Tamar finds her way to her full brother, Absalom. When he realizes what Amnon has done, he tells her, "Has Amnon, your brother, been with you? Be quiet for now, my sister. He is your brother. Don't take this thing to heart. So Tamar lives desolate and ruined in Absalom's house. But what about the king? The text tells us that when King David heard all these things, he was furious. But crucially, he does nothing. He takes absolutely no action against his firstborn son. Meanwhile, Absalom never speaks a single word to Amnon, neither good nor bad, because he harbors this deep, silent hatred for him over the violation of his sister.
Let's move forward and see how this builds. Watch how the tension just simmers here. The text is incredibly precise about the passage of time. 2 full years pass. 2 years of David's inaction, and 2 years of Absalom plotting in total silence. Finally, Absalom makes his move. He's hosting a sheep shears festival, a traditional time of great celebration and feasting at Baal Hazor near the border of Ephraim. He invites all the king's sons. He even goes directly to King David and asks him to come. David refuses, saying he doesn't want to be a financial burden on the whole event. But Absalom presses him. If not, please let my brother Amnon come with us. Despite questioning why Amnon specifically should go, David eventually yields to Absalom's urging and sends Amnon along with all the king's sons.
Section 4. The Assassination and Flight. Blood at Baal Hazor.
That 2-year silence is about to be broken by a calculated act of violence. Before the festival even starts, Absalom gives explicit, chilling orders to his men. He says, "Listen, when Amnon is in high spirits from drinking wine, and I say to you, strike Amnon down, then kill him. Don't be afraid, have not I given you this order? Be strong and brave." At the festival, exactly as commanded, Absalom's men strike down Amnon. The sudden assassination completely shatters the celebration. The rest of the king's sons panic, immediately jump onto their mules, and flee for their lives back toward Jerusalem.
While the sons are still on the road, a terrifying false report reaches King David back in the palace. Absalom has struck down all the king's sons. Not one of them is left. David stands up, tears his clothes in mourning, and throws himself to the ground. All his servants stand by with torn clothes. But then, Jonadab steps forward. Remember him? This is the very same shrewd Jonadab who gave Amnon the wicked advice to assault Tamar in the first place. He tells David not to worry about all the sons. He chillingly clarifies, only Amnon is dead. This has been Absalom's expressed intention ever since the day that Amnon raped his sister Tamar. Shortly after, the watchman sees the men coming down the hill. The surviving sons arrive wailing loudly, and the king and all his servants weep very bitterly.
In the absolute chaos of the assassination, Absalom successfully escapes. The text notes he flees to Talmai, the king of Geshur. And if we recall from our character setup earlier, Talmai is actually Absalom's grandfather on his mother's side. Absalom stays there in exile for 3 full years. During this time, King David mourns for his murdered son Amnon every single day. But as the 3rd year passes, the text tells us that the spirit of King David eventually shifted. He became consoled concerning Amnon's death, and his heart actually began to long to go to Absalom.
Section 5. Key themes and ideas. Understanding the text.
Now that we've walked through the raw events of the chapter step by step, let's distill the simple core ideas directly from the text. So, the crucial point is how plainly the text reveals the ripple effects of human flaws. First, we see the destructive nature of unchecked desires in Amnon, whose selfish obsession disguised as love quickly morphed into violence and hatred. Second, we see the devastating impact of Jonadab's shrewd, immoral advice. Literally, a few clever words of counsel set off a chain reaction that destroyed a family. Third, we witness the deadly cycle of family vengeance in Absalom's cold, calculated 2-year plot. And finally, we see the profound consequences of a leader's inaction. David was angry, sure, but his failure to enact justice created a massive vacuum that Absalom filled with blood.
By sticking strictly to the plain text, we are confronted with the really stark historical narrative. There are no supernatural interventions here, no divine lightning bolts. The tragedy is driven from start to finish entirely by human choices, deeply flawed decisions, and devastating silences within the royal household. Section 6. Practical Lessons and Recap. Applying the Wisdom.
So, what should we take away from studying this incredibly difficult chapter? How do we actually apply its hard wisdom to improve our own lives? And this brilliantly illustrates several practical lessons for us today. We must learn to distinguish true care from selfish obsession. True love respects boundaries, while Amnon's obsession only sought to consume. We must fiercely reject counsel that encourages wrongdoing. Just because an advisor like Jonadab is clever doesn't mean they're righteous. We also need to recognize that unaddressed injustices breed further destruction. David's silence didn't keep the peace, it merely guaranteed future violence.
We must find the courage to deal with conflicts and injustices openly before they fester in the dark into hatred and revenge.
I leave you with this final thought to ponder. Consider the devastating cost of looking the other way. How might the history of this entire kingdom have changed if King David had stepped up and handled the injustice immediately, rather than letting it fester in 2 years of deadly silence? Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.